Where to the point is our creators get us brands, right? They'll talk about us on Reddit, Twitter, TikTok. And because creators are just rambling and, about how much they love us and how much they love using our platform, I think a brand reads into that and like, you know what? If a creator's having a good experience, why wouldn't I? Right. So like, for example, 80% of our brands have come from Reddit. On Reddit, all the comments about us are only from creators. Right. So that was like a big thing for us. It's like just focus on building for the creator. Because one, you get good creator talent, which is what brands love. Two, you get a great community. So there's a lot of leverage on how we can build because we can always meet with them. I can always get feedback. I have a lot of their phone numbers. Like, I'm always talking to them because I always want to learn from them. I never wanted to be the guy that just ditched the creators and just focused on the brands. I wanted to be the guy that can actually have a balance on both sides. And I think by, building for the creator and seeing things in their perspectives has been pretty huge for us.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast, filled with marketing and leadership tips on launching and growing your business with your host, Deanne Mora.
Welcome back to Entrepreneur with Deanne Mora, where we dive into the real stories behind today's most exciting founders. Today, I'm joined by Elijah Khasabo, co-founder of Vidovo, a fast-growing UGC platform that's trusted by over 100 brands, including Forbes, Notion, and Momentous. Now, Elijah started with a viral video in community college and exactly $19.12 to his name. And now, a little over 2 years later, he's helping over 5,000 creators connect with brands in a way that's raw, real, and actually works. Now, we're talking about bootstrapping in Gen Z style, building a business with zero connections, and how the creator economy is evolving fast and not always in the ways that marketers expect. So if you've ever wondered what it really takes to break through the noise and build something from scratch, this one's for you. Elijah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's start at the beginning. So take us back to that viral video. What was it about and how did it spark your journey into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually started my first business in high school. It was a stock and crypto Discord server, and I grew it to 30,000 people all through TikTok, right? So that's like how I actually got into like, this whole entrepreneurship venture mindset. But it obviously fell flat like after 6 months. It was something small in high school. I ended up like forgetting about just business in general. So what really happened was because of that, I decided like, you know what, I'm not going to go to university right away. Why don't I just go to community college, right? Because I always wanted to just keep on building something, to just try something out, save some money while I do it. And I tried probably like 8 or 9 different things and nothing was working. But that's just the beauty of entrepreneurship. I kept on going. And my last thing I was trying out was actually an e-commerce store. So I sold a store stopper, and I'll never forget a creator approached me as a UGC creator. And this is in 2022. So it's like very like UGC is not really known yet. And they're like, hey, like $50 for this video. And I'm like, no way, I'm not paying you $50 for this video, because I used to pay creators based off, what they could generate in sales. So affiliate only. We argued like back and forth for probably like an hour. And I was like, you know what, fine, I'll just buy the video. It's $50, whatever. I posted the video and the video got 14 million views. And in my head, I'm like, okay, so should I continue with this dropshipping store, or should I actually go and try to sell these videos out like to other people, like selling videos to other people like me? And I decided like that's probably the better route. I was like, I couldn't believe it worked, and I come from video anyway, so I'm like, why not do it? So that got me like into the whole UGC space. I was just selling to like small brands, drop shippers. Then I moved on to like, smaller brands and other agencies, maybe medium-sized brands with my agency. Then I built Vidovo with my co-founder, and we've grown to over 15,000 creators now. And we've worked with probably over, 150, 200 brands as to date. So it's been pretty exciting times. And that's kind of how I got in.
But time out though. You back me up to that video, because
Yeah.
you can't just drop that number of views on us and not tell us what was it about? What was the secret
Yeah.
sauce of the video?
It was honestly the stupidest video, in my opinion. The guy was filming how the door stopper worked, but his toe was out throughout the whole video. So it was like a controversy angle that everyone's like talking about his toe in the comments, but in the other half are talking about the product. So the controversy kind of drove non-interested people and interested people at the same time. So like the more non-interested people we saw, it was probably like a 3-to-1 ratio, maybe 10-to-1 for being realistic. The more interested people we actually got. So it was pretty crazy. And like that taught me like you really need to learn how to hook people in because he showed his toe for like the first 6 seconds. It was the weirdest video ever. I was like, why did I pay for this? But it worked, right? But I think because of that angle, like it was able to just blow up and people were like, whoa, what is this? Like, why is he showing his toe? But then it would also talk about the product. So it was like a win-win in a way.
That's
But
interesting.
it
Well,
also
that's
taught me
like
like, yeah,
the
it also
first
taught me
seconds,
going, yeah,
obviously, of a video or what really catch people. And
yeah,
you talk about the ratio of, interested people to just random people watching. There's a couple of schools of thought, as you know, when it comes to social media video. One
yeah,
is cast as wide a net possible. And somewhere in there's going to be some paying customers. And the other school of thought is go niche, go narrow, make sure that you're focusing just on your target market. So where
yeah.
do you sit in that continuum?
For that video specifically, I would honestly say it wasn't going after the target market, right? It was just so random. That's why like I was so disappointed like how I paid for that. And funny enough, the first couple of days the video had no traction. It was very low. I was like, okay, this isn't doing anything. It took 10 days for us to actually see like performance to start coming in. And then you just see millions and millions and millions just keep on piling up. So I would say there was no plan to that video. It was my first ever video that I actually purchased. When I was doing video for my for my high school business, there was always a plan to instruction on how we were actually creating the content. There's a strategy behind everything. So one thing about that 14 million video, it also taught me that views don't mean everything, right? You get 20 million views, but you get almost zero to like you get any no sales. Like that 14 million video got us probably like about $1,000, $2,000 in sales. Which if you think about it, it's not that good, right? So it
Percentage
taught me
wise,
a
no, I mean
lot.
it's still better
Yeah,
than $19.12.
that is very true, right? But I don't know. All it did was open my eyes to how powerful content was. Like that's what it really like. It just I was like, whoa, like this is just crazy. Like it's just content in general. Like people want to see stuff like this, right? So yeah, very interesting times.
Very interesting. And so back when, you start with nothing, you get this viral video, obviously you've got a small startup, you don't know whether it's going to go anywhere. What's your mindset at that time? Like what kept you pushing forward?
Yeah, it was really hard. I will say I had the benefit of the doubt of being just young because at that point, and I think every college, I actually spoke about this the other week. I think every other college student should kind of have that same mindset, like you have nothing to lose. Like I feel like from ages 20 to 23, 24, are like your peak energy levels, right? And a lot of people are using those energy levels towards partying, which obviously is, I don't blame them for it. It's what a lot of college people do. It's just high school level with more binge drinking, in my opinion. But I think using that energy towards like an actual skill set or towards an actual, passion of what you want to do can go so far because someone like me, like I can, get up and do this every single day for 6 hours, 5 hours of sleep and continue to do that in my young 20s. Whereas if I was, 40 years old or even 30 years old, I was like, I don't know if I could do that right every single day. So I think having the mindset of like, hey, I have nothing to lose. My biggest inspiration was also my mother, right? Like just seeing her work so hard for us and provide for us it was kind of like, if she didn't quit, why would I quit? Right. So it's like just, continuing to go and have a purpose and a driven purpose to do those type of things has probably been my biggest driver because it sucked. Like seeing zero every single day, getting a lot of no's, going through, the worst client problems, having creators ghost me for months. Like it was just awful. But like at the same time, I was learning, right? Being able to learn, adapt, and just continue to develop as a character as was huge for me. Whereas if I just quit and I was like, whatever, I felt like that would have been the biggest regret of my life.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And when you're in your 20s, you also have so much runway ahead of you that you can
Yeah,
make mistakes. You can absolutely crash and burn on a business. By the time you're married and you got kids and you're supporting a family, and it's taking that risk doesn't feel quite as good. But so you're
yeah.
absolutely right to do it when you did. So what problem were you and are you solving with Vidovo that no one else is addressing or was addressing at the time?
I would say all platforms are pretty similar in my opinion, right? Don't get me wrong. I feel like every platform is a testament to the creator economy, which I love. For us specifically, I would probably have to say the way we actually went about building our platform. So every platform has the same objective, get the brand content, right? But I don't think every platform built with the same approach. And I think our approach is very unique because we didn't raise money, right? So all of our competitors raised money. So you raise money, you obviously have to follow investor KPIs, which then lead to revenue, which then lead to brand acquisition because traders aren't going to get you that revenue, right? Um, and we were like, if we follow that playbook, we're going to get crushed because we don't have the money to support, brand acquisition. But what we can do is focus on getting good creators. So I think us being unique was by building for the actual creator and building for their perspective. Because I truly believe till this day, building for the creator indirectly builds for the brand. Where to the point is our creators get us brands, right? They'll talk about us on Reddit, Twitter, TikTok. And because creators are just rambling and, about how much they love us and how much they love using our platform, I think a brand reads into that and like, you know what? If a creator's having a good experience, why wouldn't I? Right. So like, for example, 80% of our brands have come from Reddit. On Reddit, all the comments about us are only from creators. Right. So that was like a big thing for us. It's like just focus on building for the creator. Because one, you get good creator talent, which is what brands love. Two, you get a great community. So there's a lot of leverage on how we can build because we can always meet with them. I can always get feedback. I have a lot of their phone numbers. Like, I'm always talking to them because I always want to learn from them. I never wanted to be the guy that just ditched the creators and just focused on the brands. I wanted to be the guy that can actually have a balance on both sides. And I think by, building for the creator and seeing things in their perspectives has been pretty huge for us.
No, that makes a lot of sense. But so how did you go from you had one creator, one toe video, and then suddenly you think, okay, I'm going to start this business now. How did you find the other creators? Like, how did you start to build something that ultimately became Vidovo?
I would say to find the creators is probably the toughest thing. Transitioning from like being an agency to then going into SaaS was probably the most humbling thing in my life. I thought it'd be a lot easier, but I was so wrong because building a marketplace is tough because you have to get two sides. You have to get the brands and the creators. And it seems easy on paper, but it's really not. I think the way I went about it was actually messaging creators on Twitter, right? So I would start off with creators that had a lot of leverage and influence over others within the community. And my goal is just to meet with them and just have a relationship, right? Get on a call, learn more about each other. Because what that did, it allowed us to, grow as whether we were friends, to grow as partners, whether we were to grow as like, hey, I can get you more brands if you work with me to be one of my first creators. Because the best thing about that is like a week or two later, or a month later, even a couple months later, they would post about us organically, right? Without you having to pay them. But just due to their experience with, working with Vidovo in the early days, and their posts would, bring anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 impressions, and you get a ton of creators through that. And it just keeps on going over and over and over. It's like a whole like cycle effect, right? Yeah. So I knew like, okay, let's just focus on like working with like 10 really good creators that have influence. And like indirectly they would promote us if they wanted to. And that would just like build this cycle effect. There's one creator, she worked with one brand to our platform. This was about month 7. And she posted about it on Twitter. The tweet got, I think, like over 10,000 impressions. And she brought us, like, I think, like over 1,000 creators, right? Wow. Because Twitter's the engagement on Twitter is probably more than 10,000 impressions if we're getting 1,000 creators. But Twitter, like, people are heavily engaged in the UGC community there. So, like, and she had a lot of influence. People loved her. So they're like, Vidovo, what's Vidovo? And all because she had a good experience with the brand on our platform, right? So that has been, pretty awesome. So it's like, it all pretty much comes down to relationships. I'm a huge advocate for relationship building in any sector of Vidovo, whether it's internal or external. So yeah, that's that. That's how I would say we kind of got to start.
You're absolutely right. It's for at every level of business. It is all about relationships and your network. And so you've nailed that early, which is good. Good for you.
Yeah.
Now I know you've talked about with like a lot of founders, cold calls, late nights, lots of rejections. Were there any like particular no's that turned into a later yes, or if they didn't, they created like a really pivotal learning moment for you?
Yeah. This was probably the toughest thing about entrepreneurship that I had to learn was like being able to take no after no after no, like multiple times. I would have to say there was one time I met with a brand and I was so I'll tell you this story instead because I think it taught me more than actually like my no's. So we actually worked with a brand and it was going really well to start. But by like week 3, week 4, and we worked with them for about 3 months, it just wasn't working. Like I just felt like I always had to do extra. I was learning how to be proactive. I'd get them content. They just weren't happy with it. They weren't happy with the timelines. Nothing was really working out my favor. And I'll never forget that brand told me, like he texted me one day because I had his number. He was a founder. And he's like, hey, Elijah, I just don't think this is going to work anymore. We're not going to continue services with you. And it broke me. Like I was like, wow. I was like just shattered. I was like, I worked so hard for this client. I put in so many extra hours and they were just like, hey, we can't do this anymore. Right. And right then and there, I was pretty much down to 0 clients. Like maybe I had 1. And that's when I was like contemplating, like I should quit. Like I really wanted to quit. But I will say I'm very faith driven. So part of me was like, what do I get out of quitting? Like, just keep on going, learn from this, learn from what he taught, like what was working, what was done. I remember I just read the chats back. I just kept reading. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? And I learned a lot from him. And because of that individual, which funny enough, me and him were friends. We're friends now, right? Which is kind of funny. I kind of, I just learned how to be proactive and learn how to just be able to jump on things and learn how to manage things a lot better because of that bad experience with him. Right. So it's like, why quit when it's like, you can take that lesson and learn a lot from it and like apply it to like building in the future. So that was like one of like my most pivotal moments in entrepreneurship. A specific no, I would say, yeah, I've had a lot of no's where people have come back like a year later. Right. But mainly the no's have been just because we just weren't ready yet. I kid you not, I met with a customer 2 weeks ago who I met that same company 2 years ago when we first launched, and we just weren't capable. We just weren't ready. And like, it sucked in the moment because like, I just didn't know why. But like looking back, it's like, we just wouldn't have been able to handle those people, right? They wouldn't have gone south. They would have ended up like that client that I just told you about. So it's like being able to be humble and actually learn and pick up on these things have been pretty great for us. So like, I'm always grateful for a no because I can learn why was there a no and how can I make, more yeses out of this. So
there's a couple of key messages I'm getting out of that. One is, when you do have a loss, reflect on what it was and what's the learning. So, it's always okay to make mistakes, but never make them twice is the idea. So what did you learn from it? And then in some cases, it's being more selective about who you take on as a client. Because, at the beginning, when you have no money, you're trying to build a business. It's kind of, anybody with a checkbook looks good, but sometimes some of the people that you take on, and maybe you have that funny feeling in the pit of your stomach at the time, and it's like, but it's good money, I'm going to take it. And then you find that maybe those are the ones who drain all of your time, and they don't turn out to be a good partner for your business, and then ultimately you lose them. And then what's the lesson from that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, literally. I totally agree with you.
Now you're still in school, is that right?
I am.
Impressive. So you're in school. Are you in school full time or you're in school part time?
Yes, full time.
So full-time school, and I'm assuming, like most entrepreneurs, running a company is probably full-time plus. So how do you manage your time? How do you stay focused across such different worlds?
It's still very hard for me, especially this semester. And I graduate in the spring. I just transferred in last spring. So I was like, okay, I got a year to actually do this. School is very time consuming. And the worst part about it is like I'm learning marketing when I'm already applying those, real skills in real life, right? So I'm learning a lot of stuff that I already know, which can kind of like, annoy me because it's like, why am I in this class when I can be like working or taking a call? Like there's a lot of stuff that it's just time consuming, right? And I've been able to do it. It's also, school's also very distracting. Like even right now, I'm around so many people. I'm in a public building because I couldn't take this in my house that I just moved into because I still don't have a chair for my desk yet, right? Like I have to still move into stuff. I had no furniture. It's like, there's a lot of stuff that kind of like, make it a little bit harder, but like I have to be grateful because I truly believe the pros outweigh the cons. And I think the biggest pro is networking. And you may say the argument like, wait, well, you can network out of school. True. But like, I think the best thing about school is like, I came here to meet other marketers or future marketers. So if I can apply value to them now, you never know what they could do for me 3 years from now, 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now. Right. And I truly believe that outweighs almost any con in school. Right. Because all it takes is one connection from someone I meet here for that to turn to, a big brand deal or even like a partnership deal or whatever, or even like nothing comes out of it. And I was just being a good person by helping someone or teaching other students what I'm doing or how they can do things that I'm doing. Right. So I think the biggest thing has been networking and just, having a pretty fun social life. But it is very time consuming. It's very tough to handle both sides because you'll go from meeting to class to lunch. And then, there's so much you have to do, right? Because, right before this, I had a class and I had a meeting. It's like, maybe I don't have time to eat. So some days are harder than others. But it's something I just have to deal with. And I'm willing to deal with it.
Yeah.
So,
I think you think about the connections. It's not only your fellow students, but your professors and how they're connected to industry and just, you're learning at an early age how life works, that,
yeah,
you don't get the job from applying to it necessarily online. You get it from somebody who, it's somebody that you know. You don't get the big deal necessarily from, something how you can absolutely get deals from, cold calls and all of that and just pounding the pavement. But how much more powerful is it for somebody to make one call, one introduction, one email that suddenly you're connected to someone that it would have taken you so much longer to get to them. And now the credibility that you have because of that introduction is so
yeah.
much stronger. So it's, you're absolutely right to take advantage of those resources while you have them. So definitely commend you for that.
Yeah, it's a big resource play for me, and I truly agree. Like I think the second week I was at UMass Amherst, I went on LinkedIn. I just started reaching out to all alumni, like, hey, I'm a student, would love to meet, and even that has opened so many doors for me, right?
Yeah.
Just through the alumni network that I wouldn't have been able to done if I never went here. So it's a resource play for me, and I'm just kind of playing the long term game with it. But other than that, it's pretty fun, so I can't complain.
Yeah. Well, okay. So now, Elijah, I'm going to ask you a question that's going to sound a little bit annoying because there's, a slight generation gap between the two of us and between several of my listeners. So Gen Z, I'm going to ask you to be Gen Z for me. So Gen Z is reshaping the creator space. And what do you think that older generations are still getting wrong about this market?
That's a great question. I would say, at least from my point of view, and I'll never forget, I met with an older Gen marketer. It was the funniest thing because he couldn't pronounce TikTok correctly. And I was honestly laughing throughout the call. So like, this is just like, as a Gen Z individual, it's just so funny to think about, right? But it's like, I think most of them just don't really understand the power of social influence from people in our generation, even Gen Alpha. Right. Gen Alpha is going to be even a little bit even more interesting. I don't want to go too off topic because they're growing up on AI. We grew up on social media.
Yes.
Right. So it's like our social media is going to be their, it's like their AI. Like it's going to be something so interesting because they're going to be the AI pros. We're going to be the social media pros. But I'll never forget, I went to a conference one day and it was an older gen marketer. And one thing she said is the creator economy is growing so fast. It's changing every single day. But the one generation who's going to understand it and be able to dominate it is Gen Z. Right. And that actually was a huge motivator. It like lit a fire. It's like, she's so right. Like, I love this. Like, it's just so easy for us to consume because we're always on social media. Like, our generation lives on social media. So I think the biggest mistake that most older gen marketers don't understand is that pretty much that, like, they don't understand that, like, we kind of just get it. And I don't think they can understand, like, well, there has to be more than to just getting it. Right. And I really do believe it comes down to the amount of content that we're able to consume. And it can be scary at times. So I think there was an article that came out that I think 20 years ago, our attention spans were about 1 minute and 47 seconds, 2 minutes and 40. I forgot what it was up to, but now it's like down to like 40 seconds, right? Yeah. It's really bad, right? But it's like, that's just how we are. That's just how our generation is. And we're able to adapt and kind of learn from that. So I think it's just like, they don't really I just understand. I feel like they don't understand like how we operate and how we understand things on the social side of things. But I really do think they have to understand the influence of Gen Z, our generation has on just people in general. Yeah. Right. And this is more than social media, right? This is just anything that we are growing up actively in. So, yeah.
Well, and just hearing, the way you talk about networking, which is something that previous generations, it took them a lot longer to learn. And that that is analogous also to social media, because you're networking in person, you're networking on socials. And so it's just that whole mindset of being sort of the connector generation in a sense. And
Yeah.
irony, because when you talk about Gen Alpha growing up on AI, so you look about a lot of traditional marketing that focuses on SEO and how do you get found and all the things that you have to do, and then traditional advertising and et cetera, et cetera. And the evolution of thought now is that SEO has become search everywhere optimization. Well, where is the everywhere? It's on socials. Right. It's not just what Google is going to tell you, and you're talking about Reddit. Where are the LLMs getting some of their input when they're answering questions? Reddit. So
Yeah.
what you're seeing is, I think it's starting to blend perhaps with where Gen Alpha is in their understanding of AI, because all that foundation that you're building in the socials is something that is going to pay off in other ways as well.
Yeah. It's like it has almost everything to do with influence. Like how you just brought up Reddit, 80% of our demos come through Reddit, all because of just an individual was able to influence others, right? Social media, it's like I'm more likely to search up how to tie a tie on TikTok than to go on Google and like follow like a website to it. Like I want to see an actual video of it done. So like content, social media, it's just so powerful. And like I think that the whole influence structure it always comes down back to connection and resonation. Like how can I resonate with the other individual on the other side of the screen, whether I'm the creator or whether I'm the actual viewer, right?
Yeah.
So it's such an interesting game. And I'm
It
excited
really
to
is.
keep on learning about.
Yeah, it really is. And you think of it with socials, when, that with the rise of Instagram, there was kind of this rise of almost fakeness, right, initially. And now it seems like the pendulum is swinging the other way to authentic. And you're seeing that, on Instagram, you're seeing that on the platforms that people choose. Reddit, if you try to go in there and sell anything, the community will jump all over you, and even LinkedIn, which was for so many years was stuffy. LinkedIn is becoming much more authentic.
Yeah.
Well, so how do you define authentic content, and how can brands avoid the cringe factor when trying to create authentic content?
It's so funny because authentic is like one of the buzzwords in marketing that like, it's just so weird to me that it's like we all talk about it, but we really don't practice it. Like it's funny because I used to have a ghostwriter for LinkedIn, and I had him for about 9 months, and he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. But from month 6 to month 9, I actually started to meet people in person. I would go to events and have dinners. I'd be in happy hours. So people saw the real me, not like the LinkedIn cringe me, right? And my LinkedIn content was very like, it wasn't authentic. It was just it wasn't really how I speak about marketing, how I speak about UGC, how I speak in general. And I'll never forget, I think it was like the last month of the ghostwriting. I was like, hey, like, I think I'm just going to do this by myself because these people know me in person. They know I don't talk like this. I know I don't talk like this. This doesn't sound like me. Like, yeah, the content was doing pretty well, but it's like, I want to write for me. So it's like, I think authentic is actually capturing what you want to put out there in your real voice. Like if you go read my content now, there's structure to it at times depending on the post, but I'm typing it. I do use AI to help me structure the content. But I think the best way to create content nowadays is like actually like, rambling about it on your phone. Like I'll ramble to like a WhatsApp voice message and just talk about like, hey, I was in New York. I just did this, and that, and that, and that. Then I'll go plug it into AI. Hey, AI, structure this into a post, but please follow my tone. Please follow like how I speak. Don't use these buzzwords. Don't use those buzzwords. Like keep it in my voice. And then I'll post the content. Like I think using AI to amplify like how you structure it is great. I think grabbing content from AI directly is kind of, that's like a lot of people do it. I think they shouldn't do that. Like really speak to your voice, right? And there's times where I don't even use the AI tool. I just speak and I just post, right? And I just, fix it on my own. But I think authentic now is letting the individual like speak like from your true voice. And even when it comes to UGC, for most of the briefs that we produce for the clients that we manage directly, we don't give the creators scripts. We just give them briefs. Hey, here's some talking points. Here's some recommended shots to take. Here's some personal experience examples. Here's content requirements. But there is no script, like word for word script. We want you to look at the brief and come up with a script on your own. Come up with the concept on your own, right? Because we want it to sound like you. I don't want to force you to say a word, right? So it's like, I really think it's like being open to just sharing more of your, your true voice. I think that's what authenticity it really is. And I hope more people are able to adapt to that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, because otherwise, if you're not letting the creators speak in their own voice, it's almost going to feel like you're watching your favorite show and now there's a commercial interruption. Right? It just feels like there's
Oh, literally.
those things doesn't match.
Yeah.
So what are, you mentioned the brief and some of that guideline that you give the creators. What are some other things that a brand needs to understand before diving into UGC?
I think the biggest thing is it's going to be a repeat answer, but I'd like to say the brief is the most important part. Letting the creator be an actual creator. I think most brands just forget that. Like it sounds so simple, but it's true. Like brands forget like these are also human beings. I mean, create is literally in the name, right? Well, part of it. So it's like let them actually do what they're supposed to do and what they've been meant to do, right? And I think most brands really mess that up because they'll come in with these very structured briefs and these very structured scripts, like, hey, you have to follow this, right? And it's like now it's just going to sound like a robot, right? So what we're telling brands, what we're recommending is like, hey, start with a light brief. Like give them like some light do's, some light don'ts. Sometimes don't even give them do's, just give them don'ts, right? Tell them like this is what's performed in the past. Here are some video examples that's worked. So just give them as much creative direction they can possibly get that they can amplify the creative freedom aspect of it, right? Because like I think creative freedom is the most important part. Let's say you get 10 videos. Let's say 7 of those videos perform. Or let's go in the lower. Let's say 4 of those videos actually perform. Then double down on those 4. And then you can put structured briefs in. Still don't be too heavy on scripting, but then you can put like, hey, this is working, so this is how we're going to follow this brief. That's literally how we do it for all of our clients, and it works every single time. Like start off with light structure, start off with like just testing around 10 different concepts, then double down on what's working, and maybe you want to test out 5 new like light concepts as well, and just keep on recycling it. But obviously, as time goes on, you get more and more constantly you can double down on because it's actually performing and working to the point where you might have 100 to 200 creative assets going out per month.
And you have, it looks like on your platform that you support brands with their creative brief.
Yeah, so we have a managed service. We have our self-service. The self-service is like an AI brief generator, but I don't really, boast about it. It's more like, hey, if you don't know what to put, just use this brief generator. But on our managed service, yeah, we do the briefing, we do the strategy. We're handling the production with the creator. Obviously, we're handling the communication with the creator. Obviously, the brands are pretty much hands off to the point. They're just saying yes or no to the content.
So tell me a little bit more about the Vidovo platform. Like if a brand engages with the platform, what do they get? And it sounds like different levels as well.
Yeah. So on the self-service end, brands typically coming onto our platform in the simplest terms, I just like to call it a creative engine. You're coming onto our software to work with creators to obviously get content. And with that content, it's either going on their channels, if it's an influencer partnership, or it's going on your channels if it's a UGC partnership, right? So marketing channels, TikTok, Meta, YouTube, wherever you want to post it, CTV. So most brands are just typically using us just to get the content and go run ads with it, right? We have a creator marketplace where we list only our vetted creators on there. And we also have our campaigns feature where a brand can pretty much, in the simplest terms, you're posting an application for creators to apply to, right? And you can sift through those creators and see what type of creators you want to work with based on the brief guidelines that you gave them in that application. Like, hey, we're looking for X, Y, and Z in the US, beauty product, whatever. And you can sift through like hundreds of creators who applied and pretty much approve or deny who you want to work with.
Interesting. And did you build the platform yourself? Tell me a little bit about that process.
So that's my co-founder. I'm not a builder. I'd like to say I can code a little bit, but not too much to boast about it. But my co-founder is the engineer. I like to call it the entrepreneur-engineer dynamic. Like I'm the one that's just going out there hunting, sales, marketing, ops, whatever it is, and he's the one just building the whole thing. Like he built the platform. He's very skilled at it. He's a really good software engineer, probably one of the best, if not the best I've seen. He's built the whole platform by himself, which in our industry is kind of unheard of. So he's been doing a great job.
Absolutely. And so what's next for Vidovo in year 3? Are there any new features or visions that you're excited about?
Yeah, we have a whitelisting feature coming out. And for those that don't know what that is, that's pretty much the brand being able to run a partnership ad through the influencer's account. So instead of it saying like brand name on the top left, it says the actual influencer's name, or also the influencer's name and the brand name. So it comes off, a lot more real. And the CPMs are reduced by like 20 to 40% too, is what we're seeing. It's really cool. So we have that whitelisting feature coming out. And that's pretty much the biggest thing right now that we're focused on. Everything else is pretty much nitty gritty platform updates that aren't really super exciting to boast about. But the whitelisting one's going to be really exciting.
That is cool. And so if you had unlimited funding, right, everyone's dream, maybe it's kind of a double-edged sword potentially, but let's say if you had unlimited funding, what's the first thing that you would do for your business?
I think I would go back to what I truly believe in and host a creator event. I think the more you can get creators to love you, I mean, they're literally the cornerstone of the creator economy, right? Like I said, their name is everywhere. Anything involving creator, their name is involved somewhere. They have so much influence. Yeah, it's not directly towards the brand itself, but you never know. That same brand marketer is scrolling through TikTok and is scrolling through Instagram, and you never know what they might come across. But we, there's obviously a lot more, like, we have a whole GTM play, but I can get into the nitty gritty, like boring details of what we would actually do. But I think like unlimited funding, I would 100% host a huge creator event for like creators and influencers on our platform and even off our platform. I think that'd be super exciting, and it would be something that would kind of buzz the industry a little bit.
Yeah, no, I love that. And are there any creators or brands that are still on your wish list that you'd love to collaborate with?
Yes, I have a lot. Skims has been like my number one brand I've always wanted to work with. I just love their branding. Like I'm obsessed with it. Aloe would be very fun to work with. There's a lot. Crocs would be pretty exciting. There's so many like bigger brands that I still want to work with. And who knows, those days are coming soon. We've worked with some pretty big brands so far. A lot have come through agencies, which has been pretty awesome, but some have come on their own. But yeah, I think Skims is probably like my favorite. Like I can't, like, that would like make me very excited if we ever got on board.
If anyone from there is listening, you know where to hit them up.
Yeah.
Sure. You mentioned earlier that your mom was your biggest inspiration. What's the biggest lesson that she taught you that still guides your decisions today?
I would say everything to do with not giving up. I truly believe she's the hardest worker. It sucks too, because it's like, why do you have to work that hard to just make ends meet? But it always, like, I have a piece of paper on my desk at my home, obviously. And it's her work schedule. It's like I think it was Wednesday night or Thursday morning to the next Tuesday where she was just gonna be gone. Like she wasn't gonna be in the house. She was working 3 jobs, just bouncing back to back to back to back. And like in my head, I'm like, I can't comprehend, like, no human being should go through that without having to go home or take a break. Like you're working back to back to back from a Thursday to a Tuesday. And I kid you not, when I saw it, it broke me. I was like, I need to, this was prior to Vidovo too. This was like when I was just doing UGC, but I didn't have Vidovo yet. I was like, I need to figure something out. Like I need to make sure she never does this again. Right. Because it sucks that she has to do that for us. But the fact that she still didn't, she didn't quit on us. It's like that to me is like the biggest takeaway I can get from her. Is like, she's just not a quitter. And I can't wait for the one day I can just provide. I probably owe her so much money. I just can't wait for the one day I can just give her everything she wants. But I would say the biggest thing is that just don't give up and keep going. Because you never know. You could be a day away, a week away, a year away. You never really know. The time is coming for obviously working towards it, and I think she's been a big inspiration on that aspect.
Amazing. Like Mark Cuban says, it only takes one deal. You only got to get it right once. It sounds like you're onto something here, Elijah. So I'm sure she's proud. So for young founders who are out there and they've got big ideas and no connections, what's your best advice?
So just say get out there. I think my first time like getting out and going to I used to sneak into a lot of them, so I will say I don't advise that. But if you can find a way, definitely do it. But just get out there and network. Just talk to people. You'll be surprised how many people want to help you because you're young, right? Because you're new and you're fresh. Like they're more willing to help you than the older guy who's been around and he's already crushing it, right? So it's like, go out there and go on LinkedIn, reach out to founders. I used to do this thing where I would literally say, like, hey, I'm going to be in town. I still do it. Hey, I'm going to be in town end of the month. And I wouldn't even have a ticket booked out. If I can get like a bunch of meetings booked out, I'll just buy the ticket, right? So it's like, take the risk, take initiative, like get out there, get out in the real world. I think the most interesting part about like how I've been able to build was that I went from the real world to college, and I'm going back to the real world because I kind of count community college as the real world because I was online, I was doing real world stuff. So it's like I know how life really is going to progress after college, and I'm so excited to get back out there. And it's really a game of connection. So I would say to other young founders, like, don't be scared to send that message because to where someone says no, right? So just reach out to anybody, just shoot your shot. And I've shot a lot of shots, and it's been very, very game changing for me. So I can't complain.
Amazing. Elijah, you're an amazing young man, and I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Where can our listeners reach you if they want to connect?
Of course, you can find me Elijah Khasabo on LinkedIn. You can also find us at Vidovo.com, Vidovo.com. That's our website. But I'm mainly a LinkedIn guy. My email is just Elijah@Vidovo.com. So if you want to email me, I'm always checking my email. So you can always get me there. But those are like my three ways to get at me.
Amazing. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.